I just, good morning. Good morning. I just want to take a moment to be able to welcome everybody. Very, very glad to have everybody here. It's been quite the week, and you know, with the storm and you know, people having outages and roads being closed, the town again, you know, we're very, very fortunate to have our local light department on hand because they were so responsive, and the highway department so responsive. And just glad to have us all together this week. And since it's November, you know, we often have, you know, our Director of Veterans Services with us, who is Karen Tyler, in honor of Veterans Day. And very glad that, again, considering all what the region's been through, that you were able to be here today. Yeah. And in addition to that, our State Representative Lenny Mira also came and joined us for breakfast. And I'd be remiss in not saying we have two members of the Board of Selectmen who are fortunately part of our regular crowd, but they are, you know, they are town officials too. So I'm very grateful that you're here and support us and can attend. Next month, December 7th, Ben's Breakfast, Reverend Boynton will be here and do some local history. Again, it's good to, it'll be first time that we've seen him since he's stepped down from his active role with the church and assumed this new role. So it'll be interesting to hear, you know, what's been going on for him. And who knows what we'll have else for breakfast. We'll figure that out as we get there. But, so I want to be able to turn this to Karen and let Len say hello and how are you, and Karen has some good information on Veterans Services and some updates to share. And you know, we can always get more information. If there's more that you need that Karen has in her office, we can always get that to you. So, very glad you're both here, and the selectmen are here. Thank you, Charlie, for taping. I'm going to go get, I'll go this way. If you need anything. Sure.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you all for coming out to breakfast. And thank you, Colleen, for putting this on, by the way. It's always a pleasure to come to the men's breakfast. And thank you to everyone who helped put it on, helped cook. It's always a pleasure to do this. To bring people up to date on what's going on at Beacon Hill. We're finally starting to get a little busy down on the hill. We'll be doing some major criminal justice reform this month before our session closes out. And we will also be dealing with the things in the background, dealing with local aid, roads and bridges, Chapter 70, Chapter 90 monies, always something that we're fighting for down on Beacon Hill. And today, it gives me my pleasure to introduce to you Karen, who's going to be talking to you about some veterans issues.
All right, hi. Once again, here I am crashing the men's breakfast. So I am your Veteran Service Officer. My office is located in Ipswich Town Hall, but I cover 8 towns. So Georgetown being one of my towns, I always want to come out, you know, get in touch with you guys, get my finger on the pulse, see if there's anything that you need from me, and I just always want you guys to know that I'm available for you. I can come out to Georgetown. I've met people at their houses, or I can meet them in library here, you know, if there's town hall, whatever's convenient for you. So that's one of the things that I always want to put out there and make sure that you're very aware of. So in Massachusetts, we have a law saying that there needs to be a veteran service officer in every city and town. So, and if the towns are smaller, we can create a district, which is what we have here. So that's why I have the 8 towns. And so in my role, I have, one of the main things is that there's this Chapter 115 benefit. And what that benefit is, there's 3 parts to it. There's fuel, medical, and financial assistance. So you can qualify for one, or you can qualify for all 3. So in order to qualify for this benefit, you would need to be a Massachusetts resident. It's a local benefit, so it would be, you know, that you live in Georgetown. It would go through Georgetown. And in order to qualify, there's 2 things that they look at. One of them is income. So in order to qualify, if you're a single person, your monthly income has to be less than $2,010. And that includes, you know, Social Security, pension, any VA benefits. So those are the things that they look at. The other piece is that they look at your assets. So for a single person, the assets need to be less than $5,000. And that's money in the bank, money that you have access to. Doesn't include, cars or homes or anything like that. It's just money that you have available to you. So if you, like I said, if you qualify if your income is that low, the financial, is a supplement. If you own your own house, you can get fuel assistance, and that's in addition to what you could get from like Action or other fuel companies. And then medical. So even if you don't qualify for those two, you might qualify for medical, which is excellent because it reimburses, anything that you pay out of pocket. So that includes your Medicare, supplemental insurance, all your co-pays. If there's something that isn't covered by your insurance, we can put in and try to get a pre-authorization to reimburse you for those things. So the way that it works is, so the town would pay for the benefit, it's a monthly check, and then the state reimburses the town. So definitely if that's something that, you have more questions about or you're not sure that you're eligible, definitely come see me because we can go through everything and to make sure that you may not qualify for this benefit, maybe there's other benefits that you might qualify. Another thing that I do is I help with anything related to the VA, and so I'm kind of like a liaison. So the VA is federal, then there's Department of Veterans Services, which is state, and then there's me, and I'm your local VSO. So if there's something that you want to do with the VA, which is very difficult to navigate through, you come see me and I help you with that paperwork, because sometimes it can get overwhelming. And so I don't want you to not go for a benefit or to not ask questions because it's just, you don't know what to do. There's too much to do. If you submit it and there's something missing, like, forget about it. It gets denied and you don't know why it gets denied. And so that's why if you work with me, I can make sure that everything's straight and you have all that you need, it's filled out correctly, and I'll help submit it to the state and then the VA. So at least you have a good packet. We send it in all at once. I tell you what, other documents you need, and that way you have a clean packet. And the easier we make it for the VA, the more likely, that you're going to get awarded whatever benefit you're applying for. Sometimes, if you don't get the benefit, I'm not the VA, so as much as I would like to give you the benefit, all I can do is give you your best chances of getting the benefit. So I help with service-connected disability claims, and even if you have something now that you never, say you got out years and years ago, decades ago, and you never put in for it, you can always put in a claim. All they need to do is see the connection between what's going on now and what happened while you were in the service. So one of the frequent thing that I do, like almost on the weekly basis, is a big one. It's hearing loss. You have hearing loss now, but which happens when you get older. But you know what? You were in the infantry while you were in service. You were in artillery, or you were a cook in Vietnam where, you're on combat and there's stuff going off around you all the time. Or if you were, worked in supply, but you were stationed but what you did was on a flight deck. And so you're bringing supplies, and a lot of times, they didn't have ear protection. So, those are the kind of things that we look at. And so if we can make a connection between the two of them, we might be able to get you service-connected disability rating. And then if you get that, you get free hearing aids. You get a monthly stipend, and if you also have tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ears, we would submit that all at the same time. And then, there's other benefits that go with it. Say we get you 10% for hearing loss. Well, now you have a service-connected disability. You get a break on your taxes. There's, other benefits that are out there because you're a disabled veteran. So absolutely come see me. Knees. Well, I was airborne, So that's why it's important to think about your health, think about illnesses, come and check with me. Another thing I do is I do a lot with veterans that were stationed, who were deployed to Vietnam. There is a list of presumptive diseases, and it's changing all the time. And if you have one of those, say, and you are boots on the ground in Vietnam, and you developed cancer, well, come see me. It might be, you know, we can say you were boots on the ground, Vietnam. Well, there's Agent Orange, which has, you know, and the government, you know, now owns it, and they, you know, hold themselves accountable for the fact that you have cancer now. Well, the effects of Agent Orange is a result. I mean, they found the correlation of people who have cancer that were boots on the ground in Vietnam. I mean, it's just, you know that there's a correlation there, the amount of people that have developed these diseases. So that's, you know, so that's another big piece of my job. I also do, you know, pension claims. That's the other thing, is that the Chapter 115 benefit that I was going over, that also applies to surviving spouses. So if you're a surviving spouse of a veteran and you're in that situation that I spoke about, the eligibility, you can apply for those benefits. So that's unique. Not all VA benefits, not all veteran benefits apply to surviving spouses. Another one that is for, you know, I'm gonna just touch on the big ones. There's lots of benefits out there, so definitely come and see me. I'm just highlighting some of the, you know, the ones that I see most often. So there's a benefit that's called aid in attendance, and it's for people who have serious illness. And so what it is if you have a serious illness or you know, end up going to assisted living, or you're trying to stay home and, you know, age in place, and you have a need for medical assistance, there's a portion that's filled out by your doctor, and then there's another part that is because, you know, you would have to be a veteran during a wartime period, so that's just 1 day during a wartime period, and also less than $80,000 in the bank. If you have a monthly income, what we do is we deduct all medical expenses to bring that income down, and usually if there's medical expenses, we can probably bring it down to zero. And so what you get is a monthly financial benefit, a monthly check. And that will help you pay for, you know, the assistance that you're getting at home. If you have a caregiver, if you have a home health aide, or, you know, nurse or CNA that comes into your house to give you assistance. That's the other benefit that is for either the veteran or the surviving spouse. So they look at, you know, ADLs, you know, that you need assistance with daily living activities. So those are a couple of things that, you know, that I look at most often. You know that there's veterans license plates. So if you go to the registry and you show them your DD-214, you can get veterans license plates. They're a little bit more expensive, but the money that makes it more expensive goes back to the soldiers' homes. So if you're wondering, oh, well, I don't know, it's a little more expensive, it's not going to the state, it's going to the soldiers' home. The other thing, while you're there, get this put on your license. Now there's a veterans indicator on your license. So you know how if you're an organ donor, it has the heart? Well, now if you go there and you show your DD-214, it will say, you'll get a little blue star and it says veteran. Hey, do you want some more? So that way you can show, you know, so if you go someplace and they have a veterans discount, you can show them your license rather than carrying around your DD-214. So that's an easy way. You can use it for many things. So if you go to the RMV, do both of those things. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions on benefits or what I do or anything like that, or anything veterans in general? All right. So I'm an Army veteran. And when I served, I was a mental health specialist. I was stationed in Germany. I was doing pre-deployment screenings from 2001, 2003. And that's one of the things that they're trying to look at with, so it was with Walter Reed. And they're trying to do a better job trying to screen ahead of time regarding PTSD. And now they're also, trying to, like resiliency is a big term that you'll hear nowadays in the service. And so they're trying to talk about it before you even get out, to make sure that you have that support when you get out, returning to civilian life. It's very difficult. A lot of people who are in the service now have been deployed. Many have been deployed multiple times. So they need support when they come back into civilian life. So I would like to, what I want to try to do is more outreach, or if I have different, activities or ceremonies or things like that, the better participation I can get from people, the more support they know that they have. And so that's one of the things that, I'd like to put out there, even if it doesn't seem related between the younger generation, like the OIF, OEF, and generations like Vietnam, Korea, World War II, just showing the camaraderie, to know that, to intermingle veterans from different eras, I think is important for them to have that connection with people, to, make sure that, hey, this is my experience, and I think that it's good to share those things. All right. So another thing that I have done in my role is I like to recognize people, and I like to do ceremonies, like I said, to draw people in, to take a look at the military. Veterans and military service to our country, I feel passionate about. I think that people need to support that. So one of the things that just happened on October 20th is I found out that the Republic of Korea has issued an Ambassador for Peace medal. And so what I did is I worked on it for, 6 months or more, trying to find Korean War veterans, because to participate and to receive this medal in a ceremony where they can be publicly recognized and where the community, can get involved and see what it's like, and to have a positive view or a positive experience with the military. So if you just think about it for a minute. So here it is, the Republic of Korea, South Korea, has issued a medal for service members, U.S. service members that served during the Korean War. And so this is them saying, thank you so much for helping us, maintain our country so that we are not basically communists, you know what I mean? Like, without us, without the U.S. service members, they wouldn't have been able to do it on their own. And they recognize that. And so that's why they're so appreciative of U.S. service members. And I just want, especially with what's going, and it's also called the Forgotten War. A lot of people go from, there was World War II, and we talk about that a lot, and there's Vietnam, and we talk about that a lot, and people don't look, it was a 3-year war. A lot of times people don't talk about the Korean War, and so that's why it's called the Forgotten War. They just kind of skip that generation. I think that we're also going to have a big skip between, Vietnam, like the Gulf War, and there's going to be that, and then it's going to go straight to Iraq, Afghanistan. Well, there was conflict in between there, but sometimes it just isn't getting the recognition. So when I found this out, I started advertising. I was putting it out in the newspapers. I was posting it everywhere. I went on local cable to talk about it. I went to VFWs, American Legions. I talked to commanders and I said, you know, if there's any Korean War veterans that served boots on the ground, air or sea, please have them call my office. I'd like to get them this medal. I'm going to have a ceremony. So I heard that we could get the Consul General, the Korean Consul General, to come present these medals if we had at least 10 veterans. I said, all right, I have 8 towns. I want at least 10 veterans. I'm like, 20 would be great. And then I was like, all right, you know what? I would feel terrible if there was a Korean War veteran or a couple of veterans in a town that only had, you know, a couple, and they don't end up doing that ceremony. Because sometimes with VSOs, you know, you stick to your town or your district because in the town next door, they have their own VSO, which is understandable. So I reached out to other smaller towns and I said, listen, I'm having this ceremony. If you have a couple of Korean War vets, please, I'd love to include them in my ceremony so that way they can actually receive the medal rather than get it mailed to them. I think that's important too. So they started sending theirs over, and it's like, all right, there's 3 here, there's 4 here, and so eventually I have 8 towns, and so at the end of the day, after doing all this and talking it up, and you know, I ended up getting medals for 79 Korean War veterans. Thank you. So then we had the ceremony. So not everybody's going to come to the ceremony. You know, people are older, or they have their own, you know, reasons for not wanting to participate in the ceremony. The other thing is that it can also be, you know, a surviving spouse can accept it on behalf of. So at the end of the day, we had the ceremony on the 20th. We had 60 veterans on the stage. And the consulate, you know, I had the consul general come, and so here it is. You know, I was hoping to get 20. Now I have all of these, and then my ceremony. So in the ceremony, the Ipswich, the high school Ipswich choir came. They sang the U.S. national anthem, and then I had a professional Korean singer come sing the Korean national anthem, which the Consul General he was so happy, he was so impressed, he was tickled pink, because he said to me, he goes, I've done these ceremonies a lot of places, you know, because he covers, you know, basically New England. He's from Boston, so he does most of New England. He goes, this is the first time we had a live Korean singer singing our national anthem. They said usually they played the audio, and I was, you know, I'm like, all right. I'm more than happy to do that for you, because again, it's a thing of respect. Like I want, and I wanted as many people to see this as a positive experience. And so after that, I had the Department of Veterans Services. I had the Secretary Urena, who is the Secretary of Veterans Services. He came, he gave opening remarks. Then I had, and I had an MC who was, his name's Dick Moody, he's local. He was he's a vet he served Vietnam, Desert Storm, and Iraq, and so he was the MC. And after Secretary Urena, Senator Tarr read off, so then the Consul General said a few words. And when he was talking, you could hear it, you could see how appreciative he was. I mean, he just couldn't say enough good things about, you know, the U.S. service members that, you know, that were there and served during that time and what they did for his country. And so after that, Senator Tarr read the names of the veterans and surviving spouses, while the Consul General went and presented the medal to the veteran or surviving spouse. And at the end, you know, I think everybody appreciated the ceremony. Oh, I forgot the other part. So, in addition to that, before they received the medals, again, wanting to get the community involved in this positive event, I had Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts go and present presents to the veterans. And so on the present, what it was, it's a framed, and it's a star, it's a cutout star from a retired flag. And so it says, and so I had one of the Boy Scouts read it while the younger kids went and presented the frame, shake their hand, and come down the stairs to go back to their seats. And so it read, I am part of American flag. I have flown over a home in the USA. I can no longer fly. The sun and winds have caused me to become tattered and torn. Please keep me as a reminder that you are not forgotten. So it was presented to the veterans. It was also presented to the Consul General and the guest speakers. And I think that, I think it was a great way of, having the community show their appreciation also. And then for the medal, so there's a proclamation that goes with it from the Korean government. And it goes, it is our great honor and pleasure to express the everlasting gratitude of the Republic of Korea and our people for the service you and your countrymen have performed in restoring and preserving our freedom and democracy. We cherish in our hearts the memory of your boundless sacrifices in helping reestablish our free nation. In grateful recognition of your dedicated contributions, it is our privilege to proclaim you an ambassador for peace. With every good wish, the people of Korea, let each of us reaffirm our mutual respect and friendship that may endure for generations to come. Again, that's, so I hope that gives you an idea of, some of the things and that, I can do for my office. I'm always looking for ideas. I want to promote and make sure that, the community has a knowledge of the veterans, what we do, and that, you guys know what's available to you. So it's so my office is kind of this huge mixture of different things, and if there's ever any idea that you come up with, certainly call my office. I'm more than happy to talk it out, or, I don't know. Or if you know a Korean War veteran that wasn't there and didn't receive the medal, have them contact me and I can contact the consulate and get them that medal. Anybody have any questions?
Well, Karen, I just want to give you a